Zach Edey and Kel'el Ware are very intriguing prospects at the center position in the 2024 NBA draft. But are the NBA ready? We will talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, and I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, everybody, hope everybody had a blessed weekend. Tonight, we're going to talk about a couple of intriguing center prospects in Zach Edey and Kel'el Ware, and whether they're NBA ready and whether the Wizards should take a chance on either one of them in the 2024 NBA draft. So, let's get into it. Let's start with Zach Edey. Now, looking at Zach Edey, and a lot of my scouting report outside of looking at their tape, a lot of scouting report stuff comes from Hoops Hype, so definitely shout out to Hoops Hype, man, because they do a really good work as far as draft prospects every year. So looking at Zach Edey now, 7'3", 7'4", depending on the outlet, but 7'4" center out of Purdue. Now looking at his 2023 to 2024 stats real quick, he averaged around 24.9 points a game, 12.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists, around 2.2 blocks a game, Lord have mercy, and 0.3 steals a game. Now, he did shoot 62.5% from the field, 50% from three, and 71.1% from the foul line. So before we get to strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons, looking at the stat line, what is my takeaway from the stat line real quick? Well, look, we know he can score in the paint, and he can score at a high clip. And obviously, looking at, the Wizards, obviously, we struggled till Marvin Bagley III came in, and provided additional scoring in the paint. But overall, we struggled mightily scoring in the paint. So looking at, the 24.9 points a game. So, he definitely scored at a high clip from the paint, in my opinion. 12.2 rebounds, lovely numbers, man. Again, rebounding, we need rebounders, man. So that's definitely somewhere that he could definitely help the Wizards, man, if he indeed becomes a Wizard. But another stat that really comes out at me is 2.2 blocks. So rim protection. Again, we need a rim protector. So if we don't go center, if we don't go Donovan Clingan with the second overall pick, if we go Risa Shea, if we go Stephon Castle, if we go Nikola Topic, we can rest easy grabbing a guy like Zach Edey, possibly trading back into the lottery. Now, could he make it past 15? I don't think so, man. I think that he's been linked to the Miami Heat at 15. Would he make it the 26th pick? I don't believe so. Now, Ware might, and I think we're going to talk about him in a minute. But looking at Zach Edey, man, I don't think he makes it to 26. So how could we acquire him? It would be it would be through us trading back into the NBA lottery, man. So in my opinion, so let's look at some of his strengths that I saw from watching a lot of his highlights and his scouting report and his tape. Number one, man, I mean, elite shot blocking ability. I mean, look at the size, 7'4", 300 pounds, man. I mean, we talked about Donovan Clingan, with him being 7'3", 280 pounds. Same thing with Zach Edey, man. He's got the weight, he's got the height to challenge a lot of these centers we have in the league. Now, not every center in the league is going to be your prototypical modern day NBA center, which is, a guy who can stretch the floor, looking at Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers. But, you still have your traditional bigs in the NBA. And I think that Zach Edey could definitely play hard against some of these guys, man, like your Andre Drummond's, man, because again, he's got the size. So elite shot blocking ability and rim protection is something you definitely gonna get from day one from Zach Edey. Something else to look at. Number two, proficient post score. He's got nice touch around the rim. I mean, he definitely knows how to position his body to score and score around the hoop in the paint, man. And like I said, that is something we desperately need. Now, we do have a guy already on the roster, Marvin Bagley III, but right now we do not know if he's part of the future. So again, to add a guy to a rookie skill contract, because again, if you retain Marvin Bagley III, you're gonna have to pay him an extension. Where with Zach Edey, you have a guy on a rookie scale who can pretty much provide the same boost that Marvin Bagley III did this previous season, man, which is scoring in the paint, in rim protection. So Zach Edey hits both of those marks, man. So another thing I kind of like about him, man, was what was it, man? Oh, there we go. Exceptional screeners, creating opportunities for himself and teammates. Pick and roll, man. Pick and roll and screening. I definitely, if you look at certain guys we have on the roster who move without the ball, looking at shooters like Kyle or Corey Kispert and Kyle Kuzma as far as moving out the ball, his ability to screen. I think he can get active in the pick and roll, especially with a point guard like Jordan Poole, where he can be that lob threat, where he can be very active in the pick and roll, man. So his capabilities, again, pick and roll and screening, I think is definitely a big plus for Zach Edey. Now, what are some weaknesses, real quick? While he is a rim protector, while he is very flourished as far as defending the rim, he did struggle defensively against smaller and quicker opponents, particularly on the perimeter. So that is one way that other opposing teams can kind of attack him and attack the Wizards is bring him out to the perimeter, man, and whether it's through backdoor passes or definitely movement without the ball can definitely attack him. But the farther away from the hoop, the less impact he has on defense. So that is one negative. Now, let's see. So a couple more negatives right here real quick. Again, limited mobility poses a hurdle. I mean, if you look at his size, man, it can hinder him being effective against NBA speed, especially against smaller and faster guys, especially guards and maybe and wings, man. So again, if the opposing teams can create mismatch issues, that's a weakness right there. But I think really, if you look at the pros and the cons, the strengths and the weaknesses, I think that the pros farly outweigh the cons. Now, obviously, look, faster guards. I mean, most centers are going to struggle against faster guards. Let's be real, man. I mean, Andre Drummond is not going to be able to sit out there and guard Ja Morant. So, that comes with the territory. I mean, a guy again is 7'3", 7'4", depending on what outlet, man, and 300 pounds. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of body to be moving in quick, to go after a Ja Morant, man. So that like I said, with his size and his weight and his position, man, that the strengths farly outweigh the weaknesses, in my opinion, because you're looking at the guy who can score at a high clip again in the paint, averaging around 25 points a game in college. I mean, he's going to rebound. He's going to be a rim protector. I think that at his size, especially with his size, he could definitely be a really good piece or the future for the Washington Wizards, man. He can definitely add to his depth. Now, where would he fit? Obviously, to me, if you draft the Zach Edey, especially if you go back into the lottery, then as opposed to most guys in this draft and looking at the roster construction of the Wizards. Now, you very well could see the Wizards maybe starting a Marvin Bagley third, especially if Kyle Kuzma is retained and he's still here, or if they slide Denny Avdia out to the four, depending on what moves are made, what dominoes fall, and you guys already know. So, but if you slide Marvin Bagley third to the four, you very well could see Zach Edey be the starter, especially when you have Tristan Vucevic backing him up, man. So, like I said, there's a lot of dominoes need to fall because what happens, we're going to know later this month what happens with the player option with Rashawn Holmes. So if he next that player option, that's another guy in the center group. And if not, that definitely makes drafting a center that much more of a priority, man. So, Zach Edey, man, I think, he definitely has the body to play in the NBA. He's got the skill set. I think his 3-point shot can be improved. I mean, he shot what? 50% from three. Now, is he a guy that's going to be sit out there like Miles Turner and be comfortable shooting from a consistent basis from 3-point? Not yet. That area of his game is going to be developed, but I see potential with his 3-point shot, kind of like Donovan Klingenman. I think these guys are going to be able to develop that shot because they know, look, it behooves them to at least, become somewhat of a threat from the perimeter or mid-range for them to fit the mold of the modern big. Now, again, Andre Drummond, there's many other centers out there. Nicholas Claxton's another one who DeAndre Ayton to a certain degree. There's still traditional bigs in this league, but these young guys know where the league is headed. Now, it's not to say, but I don't know. Let me switch that up real quick. Yeah, we are in a perimeter-driven league, right? But here's the thing, too. I've mentioned this before in previous videos. The NBA is going to start getting back to a defensive mind. I mean, because they're trying to knock down these scores, man. I mean, the scoring is out of control, and they know that, the consumer, it's hard to watch people dropping 150 points a night, man, with no defense. So defense, I think, is going to be more of a priority. You saw it with officiating. So I think that looking at players like Donovan Klingen, Zach Edey, and Kel'el Ware that we're going to mention that we'll talk about in a minute, the fact that they're defensively driven helps the Wizards out. puts less pressure than having to add a shot to the game, which they definitely need to still add, but they can focus on defense and take the time to develop those other areas of the game, whether it's 3-point shots, whether it's mid-range, so there's less pressure for them to be, that type of center right away, because like I said, the league is they're going back to defense being more of a priority, because like I said, the consumer does not like these teams dropping 150 points, man, with no defense. They're trying, like, again, if you saw the officiating, especially in the playoffs, they're going to start officiating to make it more, they're going to try to knock down these points, man. So Zach Edey, man, would I make a move for him? Like I said, I don't see him at 26, but I think that if you trade back into the lottery, and depending on whom you look, if you go Reese Shea, Stephon Castle, or Nikola Topic, you definitely have to roll and go get Zach Edey, man, to be that center of the future, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about another prospect out of the University of Indiana, Kel'el Ware. And could he be that guy long term? And could he be available at the number 26 overall pick in the first round for the Washington Wizards? We're going to talk about it next. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. So when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Because look, LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Lord. So LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. So look, all you have to do is to post your job for free at LinkedIn.com. Is post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you the can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on our free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All right, let's get into it. The next prospect we're looking at, and I think this gentleman can definitely be available at the number 26 overall pick in the first round. Now, it's not to say that some, other teams don't see the potential of this young man, but we are talking about Kel'el Ware. So looking at Kel'el Ware, man, out of the University of Indiana, very, very intriguing prospect, man. I know a lot of you guys have mentioned him. And like I said, I'm trying to knock out as many prospects as I can, even the ones that may not necessarily be a target of the Wizards. But as you guys know, I do my due diligence, and I'm looking at everybody, man, whether they can or cannot be part of the future for the Washington Wizards, man. So we definitely going to rock out with the draft content. So looking at Kel'el Ware, man, 7 foot, 242 pounds. So again, he's got that body, man. Now, looking at some stats from his previous season, he averaged around rounded up 16 points a game, 10 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.9 blocks. He shot 58.6% from the field, 42.5% from three, and 63.4% from the foul line, aka that charity strike. So looking at his stats real quick, kind of like Zach Edey, man. You know this guy at his size, he can definitely score in the paint. He can rebound. So we need that. We need more paint points. We need more rebounds. So he definitely shores up both of those issues for the Wizards. The fact that if you round it up, is 1.9, but 2 blocks a game. Again, a rim protector, which is another area or role that we need for the Washington Wizards going forward. He's a rim protector, so he definitely provides that. Now, what are some pros that I like about Kel'el, man? Kel'el, exceptional rim protection, again, due to his length and athleticism. With his length and his athleticism, man, very versatile. He can move he's swift on his feet. And I think that rim protector is definitely a role that he can definitely fulfill right out the gate. I think he's a guy who's definitely going to hold down the paint, man. Some other pros that I like, he is a proficient shooter. He's got solid mechanics and he's efficient, especially from 3-point range. So he fits the mold of a modern day center. So he can rim protect, he can rebound, he can score in the paint, but he can definitely spread the floor, shoot from 3-point range, and hopefully he can pick up mid-range. Because if you look at the fact that he shot 42.5% from 3-point range. So he would definitely fit the mold, again, of the modern day center with his ability to stretch the floor and shoot from the perimeter. Something else I like about him, his footwork, man, his agility and his footwork for being 7 foot. Like I said, he can move, man. He's swift on his feet. His footwork, I made it known on this platform, man, that the best center all time outside of Shaquille O'Neal, and there's no disrespect to anybody else, but it's due to his footwork, Hakeem Olajuwon, because the footwork, he had the best footwork I've ever seen from a guy at that size, man. And and then you look at Kel'el Ware, man. Not that I'm saying that he's gonna be the next Hakeem Olajuwon. I surely hope so, especially if we draft him, man. But footwork for 7 foot is big, and his agility. So those are things that I really like. Those are definitely some pros that I saw from him, man. Let's see. Let's look at some cons. Now, switching, being he struggled as a switchable defender. And he's definitely raw overall defensively. Like I said, he can rim protect, but let's not get it twisted, man. He's definitely raw. He's definitely going to have to, he's going to need some development, man. So, you definitely want to bring him in the position where, he starts on a second unit, not necessarily a starter out the gate, which I don't see. And, other than Zach Edey and Donovan Kling, which I think both of them could start out the gate, Kel'el Ware, man, can eventually be a starter, but he's going to have to be developed, man. And I definitely stress that with him. He's very raw, but the rim protection is already there. It's just like most centers, man, having to defend faster, in smaller opponents. And the biggest thing that I saw just from his scouting report was criticized for being quote unquote soft, lacking effort and communication. And I'm not the type of person to call somebody soft. I mean, this is a scouting report, so get mad at me. But I guess the proper way to put it is lack of a low motor, right? He at times he suffered from a lack of motivation, a low motor. But looking at his tail of the tape, man, like I said, looking at his highlights, looking at his scouting report, he's swift, man. He can move, man. He's got an agility. And, here in DC, we have everything put in place to help support this young man. To not only develop him the right way, but, we have the people in place who are going to set him to a standard. If you look at certain players in the roster like Denny Yavia, which we've talked about it so many times on this channel, which is, he's a confidence player, which when his confidence is high, which we saw this previous season, he is an all-star level talent, but when his confidence is low, very different player. And I think that you're going to see a lot of that with Kel'el Ware, man, where when his confidence is high, you're going to see a guy who's motivated. He's definitely swift on his feet. His agility is through the roof. He definitely knows how to utilize his 7-foot frame. And especially from an offensive standpoint, he's going to be a threat offensively. He's going to be a guy who's going to be able to hit a 3-point shot with some consistency. So that definitely adds another weapon to this offense. But so, again, confidence, I think we have that in place. New head coach, Brian Keefe, and Dave Vanderpool, our assistant coach, Dave Vanderpool, they're going to get him straight. They're going to coach him up, man. So I think that this is a good place for him. And I definitely think that if he's available at the 26th overall pick in the first round, you make a move and you get Kel'el Ware. And that obviously it depends on a couple factors, right? With three main factors. Roster construction. Who's still on the roster? Rashawn Holmes, if he an access player option, then he's going to be here for at least a year, right? So you don't necessarily need to go out and get a center because you have Tristan Vucevic is a young guy who can develop. 2, what do we do? And do we trade back into the lottery? If we trade back in the lottery, you very well could see Zach Edey maybe be an option. And it really depends on how high they rank Kel'el Ware, because who knows, he could be an option if we trade back into the lottery. Because I definitely think that, if you look at a lot of mock drafts, he's been picked from anywhere from 26 to around 15, be honest with you. So, mock drafts are all different. So, there's a lot of factors, but I think that if you stand pat with the 26 overall pick, you've already picked up a player like Reece Auché again, or Stephon Castle, or Nikola Topic, or, Ron Holland, or whatever direction you go with the 2nd overall pick. At 26, you're going to be able to get a guy who can, down the road in a very, very soon is going to be able to be that center of the future, in my opinion. So I'm really high on Kel'el Ware, man. I think that, again, he can definitely develop to be the starting center of the future, in my opinion. And obviously it's subject to certain moves being made or not being made with the organization. Because look, we're just getting into the offseason. I mean, we're in the NBA Finals. You got the Mavs versus Celtics. Definitely tuning for that because you got Daniel Gafford versus KP, but that's a whole other conversation. But we got time, but a lot of dominoes need to fall. But Kel'el Ware, man, again, is somebody who, again, if we do not have a center already picked in his draft and we stand pat with the 26th overall pick, you make that move because this kid, he can play. He's raw, but he can definitely play. So, we're going to get into a couple other things, man. Talking about Stephen A. Smith. We were supposed to talk about it the episode before, but Stephen A. Smith has something to say about how attractable was the job in DC. So was he right or was he wrong? We'll talk about that next. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. So passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your pit is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all that parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. So there was some comments made by Stephen A. Smith, and I'm going to pull up the article right now. But and obviously the article came out before Brian Keefe was officially named the head coach. But it was very interesting. And I'm going to go ahead and respond to it. So let me go ahead and pull it up. All right, so the article it was on First Take. And obviously it says of the 3 NBA head coach openings, which obviously at the time was the Wizards were one of them. Stephen A. Smith said the Wizards were the least desirable. And obviously, he's been a Wizards hater for a long time. But he had very strong words to say about the state of the Wizards and whether, he pretty much says that we are the worst option as far as the opening. So is he right or is he wrong? Let me say this. It's an easy time right now to hate on the Wizards. It's easy to make fun of them. It's easy to clown them. It's easy to, overlook them. And I get that. They're early on in the rebuild. They haven't, they set the record for the worst season in NBA, or in the NBA history, Lord, but in team history. So they give you many reasons this previous season to overlook them. Outside of the fan base, obviously, a lot of us we got love for the team regardless. But here's the thing, yes, there are reasons to overlook and possibly clown the Wizards, but he's wrong. And I'm gonna say that, and I mean, this is kind of my closing remarks tonight, y'all. Maybe 2 years ago, he would have actually been right. And 2 years ago, we were in a situation where we had a general manager who, how did he get his job? Simply by just learning underneath the guy who got fired. And what did the guy that got fired do? He gave away first round picks for talent that he either A, traded away, or B, didn't even resign. So he swindled the future year in and year out for talent like Bogdanovich from at the time for the Brooklyn Nets that make him sixth man and that helped for the playoff run. Did we resign him? No. So in years past, I get it, man. Just from lack of competency in the front office, whether it's the rotating door of coaches that coaches that never really fit what what they were trying to do in DC, and even with the coaches, the failure to find the talent to implement in these systems, the failure to hit in the draft. Yes, I would have agreed with you. Not anymore. Finally, the ownership is listening. Ted Leon says finally hit the reset button for good reason, because it was time. The build for the middle didn't work, wasn't going to work, and it was time to go into another direction. What did he do? He brought in a whole spanking new front office, man. You go underneath President of Basketball Operations, Michael Winger, General Manager Will Dawkins, and player personnel, Travis Schlenk. My bad with the title. But you easily have a big 3 in the front office, man. You got 3 minds, 3 gentlemen who could all be general managers of their own team. Extensive knowledge of scouting development, extensive knowledge of how to build teams right. OKC is the model. You know what I mean? And it's definitely a model that if you're going to follow a model, that would be the model that I follow, because they have proven they know how to build through the draft. They know how to scout and develop young talent, find diamonds in the rough. So you have to be, that is one reason why this would definitely be a desirable job for any head coach. Now, obviously, now we have Brian Keefe as the head coach going forward, and much deserved, because he came in. What did he do? What the lack of adjustments, he made adjustments. It showed how good his team can be. He pushed the pace. He put Jordan Poole in the 6th man, and then when it's time for him to fill in the point guard, he was ready, because with his play on the second unit, he learned how to dictate pace, how to run the offense on the second unit. So these are moves that Brian Keefe made. Culture. He installed an atmosphere where people not only wanted to get better, but wanted to play with each other here in DC. So we have all the right places, all the right pieces in place, man. So, and I get it. It's easy to clown the Wizards, especially if you're not a Wizards fan. We're easy. I get all that, man. But I think that this is definitely a desirable place for any coach. And now we have the right coach. So, what's next? Attracting free agents. And look, we got time before we can do that. But I think with this front office, with this coaching staff, with this franchise heading in the right direction, we're going to be that destination down the road. And I'm telling you, man, keep the faith. We're going to get there, man. So like I said, comment below. Let me know what you guys think about Kel'el Ware and Zach Edey, whether they're your pick. And if they are, where do you see the Wizards picking him up in the NBA draft? So again, I appreciate you guys, man. Tomorrow night, we're going to go over Isaiah Collier and Bud Carrington, man. A couple of some diamonds in the rough in the later stages of the first round. So we're going to talk about, should the Wizards pick them? And if yes, where do they fit in the long-term plans of the Washington Wizards? So Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you. 24/7 covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So again, everybody, rock with me tomorrow night because we're going to talk about Isaiah Collier and Bud Carrington of the University of Pittsburgh. So definitely rock with your boy tomorrow night. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to rock with me tonight. So everybody have a blessed night. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Hail to the Wizards and peace. See you guys tomorrow.